Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I am your host, the voice of reason. In today's episode, we're continuing our coverage of the ongoing civil war taking place inside of the former state of Ethiopia. Today, specifically, is February 4th, 2022, and we're receiving a variety of information, and more specifically, I want to talk about the ongoing Tigrayan Defense Force operation in the Afar region. The TDF launched this operation a few weeks ago, started a few weeks ago, with the intent of removing a far regional militia threat and Eritrean army threat into the Tigray region. And this operation has gone incredibly well for the Tigrayan Defense Forces, probably uh, better than initially anticipated, in which we have seen the seizure of Abala and the town of, and in this map it shows it's still disputed, but Berhale is now under the control of the Tigrayan Defense Forces, as well as large areas, both north and all the way south of Berhale and Abala further south. So several districts of the Afar region have been are now de facto under the control of the Tigrayan Defense Forces. Now, the initial operation was not designed to seize control of vast areas of territory, as I said before, and there had been some talk, hypothetical talk, about a possible movement of the TDF towards the border with Eritrea. Again, I would say that is very, very unlikely, and I would say kind of put that outside of your realm of thinking. Again, the area is just too desolate, and it would be very, very difficult to supply forces moving into Eritrea from the Afar region. But in terms of the operation, its intended operation, which is to destroy and eradicate Afar regional militia units that were operating just across the border, and again, we're launching harassing raids into the Tigray region, and it was kind of a thorn in the TDF's operational strategy as they are looking further west to have this force of Afar regional militias quite possibly threatening towns near the capital, Mekelle. So this operation was launched. Again, multiple regiments of the TDF were utilized. And whomever the commander is of this operation has done remarkably well. He has encircled and destroyed several units of Afar regional militias, to including elements of the Eritrean army as well. So again, we're continuing to hear reports that some of these Afar regional militias and the Afar regional government is now complaining that they are not receiving active support from the ENDF, also known as the B loyalist formations, in the fighting in the Afar region. So again, it would appear that victory has been achieved by the TDF in the ongoing fighting in the Afar region. The fighting still continues. The TDF is still engaging remnants of the Afar regional militias and Eritrean army that was encamped in many of these towns, such as Asat, Adi, Noya, and Abala as well, and Berhale. But many of these areas have been uprooted and removed as a threat to the Tigray region by the Tigrayan Defense Forces in conducting said operation. And again, we're kind of hearing the feedback on the part of the Afar regional militias that they are very, very unhappy with the support that they are now receiving from the Ethiopian National Defense Forces. In fact, they're probably receiving more support from the Eritrean army as opposed to the B loyalist formations. And again, as I talked about before, the primary reason for that is the B loyalist formations really have their hands full with the Oromo Liberation Army, and that's a great segue where we can go on down to the Oromia region and have a look at what exactly we are seeing within that environment. And again, we have received, in terms of the ongoing war that is taking place in Oromia, we are seeing the Oromo Liberation Army really start to expand, and in some cases, what I would say, professionalize its fighting structure. So we are seeing specifically with the Oromo Liberation Army areas in which the OLA is able to train and recruit. And these formations that we see that are being trained, and we have received video documentation of this, in which we can physically see the Oromo Liberation Army recruits being trained and organized in a manner that looks fairly professional. Again, what we're seeing is these troops, these recruits of the OLA are all wearing the same uniform. There appears to be a military discipline being instituted within the OLA. So this idea that the OLA is still this fragmented group of unprofessional rabble, not uniformed and just conducting hit and run raids, is really kind of far from the truth at this point. We're starting to see the OLA really look like more of a what you could define as a professional military fighting force. This force again has uninterrupted training areas, and that they're able to train, recruit, field these forces. And I've been asked, well, what about the drone threat in terms of the OLA? And yeah, it is a threat. The Ethiopian Air Force, the Abiy Loyalist Air Force, continues to conduct operations against the Oromia region. It is not talked about much. You don't hear about it in the mainstream press, but Abiy Ahmed is utilizing his loyalist Air Force to bomb areas of the Oromia region. So again, both in the form of drones and fixed-wing fighter assets. But with that being said, we're looking at such a vast area, and he has so few drones, meaning Abiy Ahmed, the National Intelligence and Security Service, which operates some of these drones, have such few assets that, again, it's very difficult to maintain complete presence of drones over the Oromia region at all times. In fact, they can really only target areas where they know there is an active threat. And in some cases, depending on the type of drone that they're using, that becomes very difficult. Again, they're not receiving as much support in terms of some of these precision-guided munitions that were being delivered via this air bridge to Addis Ababa when the Tigrayan Defense Forces were threatening Addis Ababa at one point. But again, the drones are still there. They're still present. The Air Force is still present. But again, we're talking such a vast area in which the OLA operates. It's very difficult for the Abiy Loyalist Air Force to constantly use these air assets over Oromia 100% of the time. In fact, they're rarely flying over some areas, but they do strike and they do hit. Especially if they get intel on a fairly large concentration of OLA fighters. Now, with that being said, also we do see these retribution strikes as well, where they tend to go after civilian targets as well inside of the Oromia region. And again, that's the Abiy loyalist formations utilizing these Turkish drones, Chinese drones, and UAE supplied assets as well within the context of this ongoing civil war taking place inside of the former state of Ethiopia. But again, we continue to see the Ethiopian National Defense Forces, the Abiy loyalists, really struggle with the OLA at this time. It looks like they're really trying to put into service all their capable combat power against the OLA, and we're really not seeing the ENDF at this time being deployed against the Tigrayan Defense Forces. In fact, we have some intel that would indicate that within the context of the inner circle of the general staff of the Abiy loyalist formations, that it has been accepted that they've been defeated. And the whole concept and idea of the ENDF re-entering the Tigray region is something that at this point in time, the ENDF or the B loyalist formations at this point allegedly just don't have the capability to do, and there's no real desire or morale within the B loyalist formations to re-enter the Tigray region. Again, they have a tremendously foul taste in their mouth from their last experience in the Tigray region when they were, for all intents and purposes, militarily defeated and evicted from the Tigray region. And right now, they're mainly concerned with trying to fight the Oromo Liberation Army, and it is a very, very hard fight at this point. And any idea that we could see the ENDF re-invade the Tigray region again is probably unlikely. We would probably need to see the ENDF refit and reconsolidate its forces over a period of a year, and that's if things continue or things go well against the OLA, and things are not going very well against the Oromo Liberation Army at this point. Vast areas of the Oromo region are under the control of the OLA, and as you can see here on my map, again, the yellow areas are areas controlled by the Oromo Liberation Army. The red areas are supposedly controlled by the Abiy loyalist formations and Amhara regional militia units. We also continue to see tension between those Amhara regional militia forces, such as Fano, and the central government in Addis Ababa, the Abiy loyalist formation. So those stressors continues with this lack of unity of command, and we continue to see Fano kind of do its own thing, especially in Western Tigray. And again, we are still watching this very closely, as we do anticipate eventually the TDF is going to make a concerted effort to completely retake control of Western Tigray at a certain point. Right now, we understand that the TDF is also refitting and reconsolidating a lot of its army units. Again, it went through a very, very arduous operation in which it invaded the Amhara region, penetrating more than 160 miles, seizing major towns and villages throughout the Amhara region. So again, that process continues for the Tigrayan Defense Force, that refit and reconsolidation efforts within its force construct. But we're watching everything very, very closely, and as always, we'll have more content very, very soon. Have a good day.